And for the next 10 minutes, we're going to be joined by Seth Weil aboard. We're going to bring him in right now. Seth, what's up? Morning to you, man.
Good morning, Stefan, Synergy TV, and all of our viewers, both internationally, regionally, and locally. All right, so this morning topic is chronic anemia in young people. And I chose this topic because I've seen videos on TikTok, with young persons posting these videos of themselves clearly fatigued, low energy, and they explain that, they are anemic. But the video was not about fixing the problem. It was about finding other people who feel the same way. In fact, it was somebody that shared it, that felt the same way. That's how I saw it, all right? And, people in the comment section, they would say things like, yeah, that's me too, I'm always tired, that's just how I am, and, they'll make statements like that. And this is a very serious problem because instead of people asking, why is this happening? People are asking who else feel like this so that they can feel normal. And that is where things start to go wrong because over time, sickness starts to create a community. People bond over being tired, being weak, having no energy. And that sense of belonging, which is innate to humans, we need to feel a sense of belonging, right? With regards to these health issues, it replaces the urgency to fix the problem. So we normalize the issue, and So what I want to make clear is, your symptoms are not your identity, right?
Okay.
Your symptoms are not your identity. Your symptoms are actually warnings, right? It's actually warnings. Last week I spoke about the lower limb amputations, and that shocked a lot of people because I've gotten a lot of calls and so forth with regards to that topic, and what many of them, if not all of them, have in common is they all had warning signs, but they ignored them. They either downplayed them, or they got so comfortable with them that they just paid no attention to them because they're not taking the medication and whatnot. That's usually the mindset. And by the time they took it seriously, it's usually too late. And this is how the body works. The body warns you long before it breaks you. It warns you long, long before it breaks you. And the same thing is happening right now with anemia.
Okay.
People feeling tired, weak, dizzy, and drained. And they say, that's just how I am. That's just how I am. I've seen it countless times with many health issues. But no, that is not how you are. That is your body failing to function properly. Your body is supposed to be at its strongest when you're young, right? It's supposed to be at its strongest when you're young.
Yeah.
So if you already have dealings with chronic anemia in your 20s, your body is already under stress when it should be thriving, right? And if that continues, it's not going to end well. It leads to long-term damage and reduced life quality. And in many cases, it actually can and does lead to earlier death. And this is something a lot of people don't know, right? Chronic anemia does shorten your lifespan.
Okay.
So, as we go in a little bit, what is anemia? So anemia, it means your body doesn't have enough healthy red blood cells or enough hemoglobin to carry oxygen efficiently. If I share my screen here, let me just share the screen here quickly. You see in the screen here, right?
Yep.
All right, so on the left-hand side, what you're seeing is your cells, right? Red blood cells.
Can I got pepperoni pizza, but go ahead. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's with the hemoglobin and stuff in the red blood cells, and you're seeing the white blood cells. You're seeing how much. And somebody with anemia, you're seeing the reduction in the red blood cells.
Red blood cells, yes.
So they have less production of the red blood cells.
Yes.
All right? And red blood cells is what transports oxygen. So you have that less amount, so therefore less oxygen is being transported and circulating through the body. All right? So let me get back to what I'm saying here. And of course, we know that oxygen is not optional. Every organ depends on it. Your brain, your heart, your muscles, every cell in your body. So imagine if you are chronically running low on oxygen, all organs suffer. Therefore, it's going to reduce life expectancy, right?
Right.
And this is why people are constantly feeling tired, weak, lightheaded, out of breath, unable to focus. So anemia is not just low iron. It's not just low iron. It is reduced oxygen to the entire body. And yes, there is something else that you need to understand, right? Anemia doesn't affect everyone equally. and it is far more common in females, of course. And the reason for that is because of females and menstrual cycles. So it affects more females in their reproductive years. So you have teenagers, young female teenagers, the young adults, the women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. All right. So every month, during their menstrual cycle, when they're losing blood, all right, you lose blood, you lose iron, because iron is in your blood. And when iron is lost, the body must replace it. But if the diet is not supporting that, or the body cannot absorb properly, the deficit builds. So that deficiency would build, and month after month, year after year, until eventually it shows up as fatigue, weakness, dizziness, the whole low energy, the symptoms of anemia. And again, instead of asking why, many just simply accept it. I'm pretty sure, Stefan, you all would have seen, you always seen people posting when it comes to their menstrual cycle and the issues with the menstrual cycle. But they're not posting it to find solutions, they're posting it for community. They're posting that for community.
Well,
right?
That's usually what happens.
That's something very common, and it's very common, but it's not normal.
Yeah,
we need to understand that.
That's
not because
becoming
something is common, means it's not. Yeah, right? When we should be asking, why is that happening?
Yeah.
Why is that happening? And that slowly creates a larger and larger deficiency because you're not looking to fix the problem. So iron is required to produce the hemoglobin, all right? And a deficiency of that is what we call anemia.
Okay.
Right? And that's where people just stop. But we need to focus on fixing the problem. So what you are eating and what your body absorbs and what the body can use. For example, in children, this is something that most people don't know. And I have this in my book as well. The number one cause, or one of the main causes worldwide for anemia in children is the consumption of cow's milk. Right?
Cow's milk?
But cow's milk, yeah.
Okay.
Stefan, simple logic. We are not cows. we are not cows, right? So it has an impact in that, and I go into and I explain that in my book as well.
Right.
And that is something that is widely used and consumed, and not because you grew up using it mean that it is safe. And that's the twisted concept that we have with a lot of stuff, is that we grew up using these things, so therefore it is safe. And then we have other things that people consume that blocks absorption of iron. For example, tea and coffee. Also go into some detail in my book into this. Tea and coffee blocks iron. And these are things that we made regular pastime, right? So a lot of people must have the coffee on a daily basis. They must drink the tea on a daily basis.
Iron, you say, no?
Correct. They have something in it called tannins, all right? And that directly blocks iron. It's not the only thing in it that blocks iron, right? But that's just to show people that a lot of people are involved in behavior that's harmful to the body, but they don't have the slightest clue that it is interfering with their health, right? They don't have the slightest clue, and these are things that they indulge in on a daily basis. So day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, they continue with this. And then when they have these deficiencies and they get these symptoms, that becomes their new reality, right?
Yeah.
That becomes their new reality.
And then you have to change your lifestyle.
Say that again?
Then you move towards changing your lifestyle.
That's what people need to focus on,
right?
But then they'll go and they'll focus on buying a supplement, right? That's what they'll focus on, trying to supplement. You can't supplement a deficiency that is caused from a poor diet.
Right.
All right? Because people are looking at things from a narrow perspective. They're just looking at it from one angle. Okay, so I have an iron deficiency. All right? But if you have an iron deficiency, it is very, very likely you have many other deficiencies, but you don't know. Because the same thing that causing the iron deficiency would be causing deficiencies in other aspects of your health, but they just are unaware of it. All right? And we need to focus on this. And this is why I have my nutritional therapy program, right? So I identify what's going wrong with the body. I identify that. And then I coach people along with how to rebuild the body, help the body to repair itself. And that's the whole purpose of my nutritional therapy program. That's the whole purpose of Self-Wires Holistic Health Clinic. Because people are out here consuming things on a daily basis, not knowing how those very same things that they think is part of their daily lifestyle is affecting their health. Right. And then they have normalized being sick, normalized these harmful symptoms, all right? They have normalized it when they shouldn't, all right? And, that's the purpose of me writing my book, to share a lot of this information with the general public, because most of what people consume today is just things that have been handed down traditionally, or things that we have seen just being popularized through television. For example, growing up, coffee drinking was something very rare, very, very rare, right? Especially in my home, right, where I grew up. But you saw it on TV all the time, over and over, people going and buy the cappuccino and whatnot. I remember saying that word when I was small, cappuccino. I wanted to know, what is that? Because you've seen it in all these television shows, right? That was good marketing. It was good marketing. So now people start consuming these things, and these things have addictive tendencies and properties to it. I'll be thinking these things are normal and good and fine. They'll say, yes, well, cultures have been consuming these things, for however long. If that's another interesting thing. That's why I have all of that in my book. If people go into the history of when these things were domesticated, you'll realize they weren't here. They weren't here. It's recently these things came about, right?
Right.
Coffee is like 1,500 years old, right? It wasn't here at the time, right? So we are engaging in behaviors that are harmful, and this is why I encourage people. Go out there, get my book, educate yourself, because that's the only way we fix this problem. We have to stop relying on the authorities to do what's supposed to be right. We have to remember that authorities and stuff work in the interest of their stakeholders. They work in the best interest of their stakeholders. And if their finances and stuff are people in certain industries, it is not in their best interest, right, to share such information or knowledge with you. It is not, right? And we need to understand and accept that. You are responsible for your own health. You are responsible for educating yourself, all right? We can't depend on external factors to do so willingly when doing so would be against their profit, their financial benefits, all right? So I encourage people, especially if you have these issues dealing with, book a consultation. Let's get to the root of your health issues. Let's get you back on track. Let's get the body back where it needs to be, where it can support your normal, regular biological functions and rebuild itself. Sickness doesn't have to be part of your life. Like I've mentioned many times, I don't get sick. It doesn't have to be part of your life. And I grew up like the average Trinidadian, very sickly. But as soon as I uncovered the truth with regards to proper nutrition and I made the changes and being consistent with keeping to those changes, sickness have left me. It have left me as not part of my reality. And it could be the same for countless people as well, if they are willing to take that step. And we have to be willing to take that step. So people, anemia and many other diseases should not be commonplace in your life. Pain during menstrual cycle, discomfort, and all of these things that happen during menstrual cycle, that should not be commonplace in your life, right? That your reality could be a reality free from those things.
Okay. So people, if you want that reality, of course, Setwayo has the Holistic Health Clinic, and it's here for you. And all you have to do is contact Setwayo Laborde, man, and start today. Book an appointment and rebuild your health from the inside out naturally. No supplements, as he said, and it is drug-free, root cause healing at its best. All right. So give him a call or WhatsApp him on 2793935 or 7611952. You could also order his book, You Are Not Sick, You Are Malnourished. And you can get the book at all RIK bookstores, nationwide. Also Amazon. You could call him and you could get the book. And in Tobago it is?
Nelson's Bookstore in Tobago.
Nelson's Bookstore in Tobago, people. You can make sure and check out Nelson's and pick up the book as well. So Seth, thanks for your time this morning, man.
Thanks for having me. I guess I might touch on autism next week a little bit again.
All right, yeah, cool. That'd be great. That's always welcome. I have a run coming up and we're going to help you children with autism. So no problem. Yeah, welcome,
excellent,
man.
Excellent.
All right, that's all. Yep.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. So that is Setwayo Laborde on the inside. I want to get...
If you want to understand what's really happening inside your body, I break it down in detail in my book, You Are Not Sick, You Are Malnourished. It's available on Amazon and Gumroad, RIK bookstores nationwide, Nelson's Bookstore in Tobago, or directly through the clinic.